The streets of New York City have become a battleground of legality and livelihood. Migrant vendors, striving to make ends meet, now find themselves on the wrong side of the law.
Well, for the second day in a row, the NYPD raided a strip of illegal vendors in Queens.
Mayor Adams says the situation there is a byproduct of
Where are they today?
Today they're hiding because you're here. They're very.
New York City, it is getting crazy out there. Welcome to Verbal on Life. My name is Noel, battling a mess. And we got to take a look at this migrant situation that's affecting New York City, my hometown. This is crazy. Let's take a look.
Very smart, and then they're not gonna show themselves today.
On April 16th, tensions flared in Jackson Heights when the NYPD clashed with migrant vendors and seized what they believed to be stolen goods. This block has gained a reputation for its underground market and other illicit activities, drawing the attention of law enforcement. For 2 consecutive days, police swooped in after receiving tips that illegal vendors were operating in the area. Many vendors fled upon hearing about the police presence, likely from Lookout Station nearby.
Except for one. This vendor going from 0 to 100, jumping in our face, swearing at us upon sight.
The increased police action followed a report in the Post, highlighting ongoing issues in this area. Local businesses have been frustrated by the persistent problems here. The scene unfolded around 1 p.m. on Tuesday, with police focusing on a specific triangular block.
You know, street vendors have always been a problem in New York City. They always have people selling on the street, and then the police come and they run away or they get out of there before the police take their merchandise. So it's been a problem for a while. But I think now with the migrant situation, it's just getting more and more out of hand. Because think about it, we have a bunch of illegal migrants trying to make money. And if they figure out how to do it, like everybody else been doing it on the streets, it can only lead to chaos. But what do you think?
Near Roosevelt Avenue, Elmhurst Avenue, and 91st Street. They targeted about 10 vendors selling merchandise displayed on blankets, suspecting the items to be stolen.
This is the #1 complaint in his office. Probably 15 to 20 calls a day of basically people come here and set up a flea market. And when you were here a little while ago, you seen how bad it was here before we got here.
During the raid, Mateo Hipólito Dominguez was forcefully subdued by an officer who alleged he had a box cutter. Dominguez vehemently denied the accusation, expressing shock and frustration. In Spanish, Dominguez told reporters that the officer, whom he referred to as the dark-skinned guy, had unjustly tackled him over a pair of shoes. He emphasized that he was only trying to support his family through honest work and criticized the police for targeting vendors like himself instead of addressing more serious crimes. "Why are the police always harassing us?" Dominguez asked, visibly in pain from an arm injury sustained during the altercation.
I mean, if there's a licensed vendor complaining why the police are harassing us, or is this just a guy who posted up a street market and now wants his rights to be protected? Crazy.
When questioned about a permit to sell his goods, he admitted they operated without one, but insisted they were not engaged in theft. He also added that the real thieves often go unpunished, yet they target them every now and then.
Yo vendo aquí ropa. This frustrated vendor says she sells secondhand clothes. Another claims she has a permit and pays taxes.
Police also seized goods from Alexandra Carcha and loaded them into a large white van. Speaking in Spanish, Carcha expressed frustration, claiming that the police handled the situation unfairly by mistreating people during confiscations. She recounted an incident where an elderly man was forcefully removed by 3 officers, emphasizing that many like him were merely trying to earn a living.
And you know, they say that police cannot really treat people nicely, right? You want to give them a reason to say, let me get out of here, let me not do this anymore, just not to go through that experience. But I mean, I think it works. But for some of these street vendors, they could care less. They keep coming back.
Carcha revealed her reluctance to apply for a permit after her mother's unsuccessful attempt to obtain one 5 years prior. Doubtful of her chances, she questioned whether she would fare any better. Similarly affected by the raid, Maria Aravello recounted how officers confiscated her table of jeans and leggings, despite her efforts to prove their authenticity with a tax certificate. Struggling as a single mother of 3, Aravello emphasized her need for the money she earned.
a single mother of 3. Wow. How do we get here? Where's the help? Where's the father?
especially to cover taxes.
Just trying to make a living and feed their families.
They hustlers, I gotta say, not aggressive. They are hustlers because they need to feed their families, especially now.
In addition to street vendors, the Post noted clusters of female prostitutes along Roosevelt Avenue during daylight hours, though the bustling market was notably subdued compared to its usual liveliness.
Quality of life issues are nothing new in this part of Jackson Heights. Neighbors and businesses have repeatedly complained about prostitution in the area. Back in January, the NYPD shut down multiple brothels along Roosevelt Avenue.
Stolen merchandise, ranging from power tools to everyday items like mouthwash and diapers, was observed being resold on the sidewalks at discounted prices.
New York City is crazy because the 1% of the people with lots of money living in the high end, they don't know anything about this because they don't have to come by here. They don't have to walk through here. They have no clue what's going on. Where they live, Saks Fifth Avenue and all the high-end stores, they stay over there and away from these areas.
Milton Reyes, a store manager in Jackson Heights, described a persistent problem with shoplifters who openly sold stolen goods outside, while prostitutes solicited passers-by and directed them to illicit venues. Reyes explained the challenges faced by his customers due to the chaotic street scenes, particularly on Saturdays when the sidewalk was impassable. When questioned about permits, he admitted not having one, but emphasized that they were not engaging in theft like the shoplifters.
Sex trafficking was taking place in these locations.
This is what we're seeing. Councilman Moya and I, some of the illegal shops, sex trafficking that is taking place.
Despite the disorder, no arrests were witnessed by a reporter on site. Mayor Eric Adams acknowledged the challenges faced in the city, attributing some of the issues to the influx of over 190,000 migrants in recent years. He indicated that these challenges were worsened by the city's policy restricting employment for many newcomers.
They want to blame on the fact that we got to speed it up and get them employment records, get them Social Security, make all these illegal migrants legal. Is that really the problem? How about securing the border? Maybe.
Problems we're facing, in our city. This is the byproduct of bringing thousands of people to a city and telling them they cannot work.
Mayor Adams recognized the situation along Roosevelt Avenue as a consequence of broader policy decisions affecting thousands of migrants. He acknowledged the issues highlighted by the Post and suggested a need to address the underlying challenges arising from immigration policies and their impact on employment opportunities within the city.
This is what we're seeing. Councilman Moya and I, some of the illegal shops, sex trafficking that is taking place. All of this is a byproduct. 3,000 people on Randall's Island that cannot do anything all day.
At no point does he mention, because I think he's scared of the government, at no point does he mention we should maybe secure the border so we could stop all these illegal migrants. How about that? I want to hear him once say that.
That's just not right.
But here's the thing. The challenges faced by street vendors extend beyond just Queens. In the Bronx, specifically along Fordham Road, vendors are also experiencing this daunting situation. They find themselves in trouble with authorities who are shutting down their operations and issuing summonses due to lacking required permits. One such instance involves Javier Rojas and Dolores Murga, who were not merely setting up their tacos and jewelry stand on Fordham Road one Monday afternoon. They were also grappling with the financial burden of paying $4,000 in summonses issued to them the prior week. Rojas expressed his disbelief, asking if it's possible and even correct for the police to put $2,000 for 2 people.
Thinking, how are they going to be able to afford to pay a total $4,000 in summonses that they were issued last week?
The police put $2,000 for 2 people.
The situation also shows a broader concern about the city's approach towards street vendors, as said by Mohammed Atia, the managing director at the Street Vendor Project. He noted that it is really disappointing to see how the city is dealing with street vendors with an enforcing-only approach, and there is nothing to support the vendor community. He says there are no resources, no education, no outreach.
It is really disappointing to see how the city is dealing with street vendors with enforcement only approach, and there is nothing to support the vendors community. There is no resources, no education, no outreach.
According to a spokesperson from the Department of Sanitation, who took over the Office of Street Vendor Enforcement in March 2023, more than 100 warning signs have been posted. The focus of enforcement, they claim, is on situations where vending activities lead to unsanitary conditions and safety hazards.
With all the tacos, all the food,
Oh, the garbage, everything.
who threw it?
All the food and throw the garbage.
Authorities, the police?
Yeah.
However, Adia raised concerns about the process for obtaining permits, stating that right now, new vendors cannot obtain a proper permit or license from the city. There is a very long waiting list. No one can apply for a permit until they are called off that wait list.
There is a very long waiting list. No one can apply for a license or a permit until they are actually called off that wait list.
So they got to hire more people to expedite the processing to get the license for these people and permits for these people. But it's like, really, it's the government's fault for not hiring enough people to do this job? I don't know. It's crazy.
The narrative on Fordham Road echoes a larger issue surrounding street vending across the city. It's not just about enforcement. It's about access to permits and support for vendors. Adia emphasized that the current scenario is discouraging potential vendors and hindering their ability to contribute to the community through their entrepreneurial efforts.
As far as Rojas and Murga, they've been street vendors for 8 years.
If you do that because you need the money, you need working for family.
The street vendors aren't just sitting around.
You deny!
They've taken action after recent NYPD crackdowns along Roosevelt Avenue in Queens. Following the sweeps, vendors marched to City Hall and the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. Their demand? They want the City Council to pass a law that removes the cap on street vending licenses, a limit that has stood at 853 since 1979.
Whoa.
The NYPD's operations on this bustling stretch between Jackson Heights and Corona grabbed attention on the 15th and 16th, and even continued into the 17th of April. By Thursday afternoon, Sanitation Department police were also patrolling the area. Karina Kaufman Gutierrez, Deputy Director of the Street Vendor Project, shared these updates.
They're saying that it's easy for us to get licenses. If it was easy, we would have been had a license.
Mirna Bodegas, 53, recounted her experience to the city in Spanish. She was selling water and drinks when 5 NYPD officers seized her goods and issued her a $250 civil summons for unlicensed vending. She hasn't been able to get them back because of the cost of the ticket. Bodegas and her husband rely entirely on vending for their livelihood. Often they sell clothes and gloves to day laborers in the early morning hours, earning up to $200 on a good day, yet twice their merchandise has been confiscated. A spokesperson from the NYPD, who chose not to reveal their name, stated that the department retains its authority to enforce all violations and will assist any agency during operations. Throughout the enforcement action this week, the NYPD issued a total of 12 tickets. The department claims its off.
I wonder what happens to all that merchandise that they got to put together and take away. That's crazy.
Officers use a high level of discretion to resolve issues without the need for enforcement. However, they did not address questions about what triggered the sweep, how coordination with the sanitation department was handled, or the specific violations noted for the tickets.
NYPD rolled up on some vendors and asked them for license, knowing they didn't have it, and gave them tickets. Now, these tickets are from $100 to $1,000.
This crackdown has left vendors like Mirna Bodegas struggling. The confiscation of goods and hefty fines have a direct impact on the livelihoods of these vendors and their families. The Street Vendor Project's Kaufman Gutierrez highlighted the urgency of lifting the cap on vending licenses, which has been stagnant for over 4 decades. Vendors argue that lifting this cap will provide more opportunities for lawful vending and support small businesses. However, vending is not without its challenges. Whenever sanitation or police officers pass by, her husband becomes anxious due to his tremors and fear of potential consequences. The stress of these encounters adds to their daily struggles. Similarly, another vendor, who prefers to remain anonymous, faced a setback when NYPD officers issued her a $250 ticket and seized her merchandise at the corner of Roosevelt Avenue and Junction Boulevard. This 61-year-old vendor from Ecuador, living in the city for over 2 decades, is now grappling with the loss of her jewelry and toy inventory.
2 decades in America? Wow, insane.
Valued at around $4,000. Speaking in Spanish, she expressed her frustration at not only losing her goods, but also the uncertainty of when she can retrieve them. She aims to settle the ticket promptly to recover her merchandise, but bureaucratic delays may keep her waiting for up to 10 days, unsure of the exact timeline. Despite these setbacks, she remains determined to continue working, relying on the remaining stock she has at home until her confiscated items are returned.
Enough is enough. Vendors cannot continue to be terrorized, harassed, and arrested.
In response to recent enforcement actions, Council member Francisco Moya has spoken out against unlicensed vending on Roosevelt Avenue. He emphasized the need to support small immigrant-run businesses, homeowners, and tenants seeking assistance. While Moya advocates for increasing vending permits, he is opposed to unsanitary vending practices, such as selling food under subway staircases, distributing counterfeit goods, or dealing in stolen merchandise prevalent on city streets. Although Moya has not endorsed a city council bill that proposes an increase in vending permits over the next 5 years, with the possibility of lifting the cap entirely later on, he remains focused on balancing the interests of vendors with broader public health and safety concerns. The issue extends beyond just street vending. It touches on broader themes of economic opportunity and community support. Street vendors play a vital role in New York City's fabric, providing goods and services to local communities while supporting their families. They are an integral part of the city's diverse and vibrant street life.
We're going to be looking at the issues that are impacting this area. That is not just street vendors, but the prostitution that exists here as well, the crime and the quality of life.
Efforts to address the challenges faced by street vendors require collaboration and understanding between law enforcement, local government, and community stakeholders. It's not just about enforcement. It's about finding solutions that balance public safety with the economic needs of vendors who contribute to the city's dynamic cultural landscape.
The NYPD says it plans to monitor this area with cameras and stepped-up patrols and take its efforts to other neighborhoods in the city where vendors are operating illegally.
As discussions continue about the future of street vending regulations in New York City, it's clear that the voices and concerns of vendors like Mirna Bodegas are central to shaping policies that can uplift and empower these small businesses. The outcome of these discussions will have a significant impact on the livelihoods and well-being of vendors and their families across the city.
That's crazy. And with all the illegal immigrants that are coming into the city, things can only get crazy and crazy. But what do you think? This problem is huge. And with all the illegal immigrants arriving into the city, it's only going to get bigger. My solution, Trump 2024, and deport all these illegals and fix things. All right? Comment below. If you haven't given this video a like, go ahead and give it a like. See you guys in the next video. Peace.
Verbal or life.